All right, we're back talking about the file structure part of the chapter and understanding how the file system works on your computer. And it's the same on your computer as it is up on a web server. So the two things uh, you need to understand this to be able to work, transfer files from your computer up to the web server. Now, you know that we utilize the concept of folders to describe a place to collect files. Windows has recently taken to calling things libraries, but fundamentally a folder is a better representation because it's like a manila folder in a file cabinet. You can put other files, papers inside of that folder. In the Linux or Unix world, we generally refer to them as directories. And that is, you may hear me reference them either way, but note that that's basically the same thing. Let's talk about a directory hierarchy. How do you organize files? The simplest analogy or way to look at this is with a tree. The concept is that the root of the tree, and you can do this either going up or down. In fact, let me see if they, oops, there they go. Okay. We'll look at it from here. The root of the tree is at the top, which is called fluency. Then there are branches underneath of that called part 1, part 2, part 3, and part 4. Inside of part 1, there are further branches detailing subchapters of part 1. And under chapter 3, we have an example of additional information that is stored under chapter 3, including a file structure folder, which has something called a directory hierarchy in it. And inside there are a number of figures. This is a good example of how you will want to think about organizing some of your files as we begin to populate the web server. So he also uses the idea of the tree here and the root and leaves and moving up and moving down. And that makes sense when you think about it higher and lower in a hierarchy. So the URL will tell us where in that hierarchy a particular resource is. In this example, we're using a particular webcam. So resources aren't just files. They can be text, they can be an image, they can be audio file, it can be a video file, or it could be a device somewhere, like in this case a webcam, or it could be a sensor that's measuring a temperature. So here we have a URL that lives on the web server nps.gov, and within that web server there is a folder called YEL. Under that folder is another subfolder called Photos Multimedia. And inside that subfolder is an actual link to a resource, particular file to some particular resource called webcams.htm. And here they give a nice illustration of the webcam and the folders. And you'll note that in this case, YEL, short for Yellowstone, is the root of this website. And so within that is a file called index.htm. So when you go to that particular website, index.htm is the file that gets presented to you on your web browser. Once you're there, you begin to see that there are other subfolders, pages, if you will, below that called plan, photos, history, natures. And within the photos folder are other subpages that you can look at. So that's an example, a real good example of a file system structure and how you need to be able to create it. So for your purposes, once we get going on this, and you have your website up and running, you'll have a www folder that is your root. And underneath that, you need to be able to create an index.html file. You'll probably want an images folder. You'll want a chapter 4 folder. You'll want a chapter 5 folder, and so on. So think about that as you're organizing your homework, thinking about your homework. So here's an example of the page that comes back. That is the HTML code provides this information back to you when you go to nps.gov/yell. Okay. All right. I don't see anything there. And that's basically it. I did want to throw out a couple of other thoughts here as you work on your file structure and you begin to populate and create files and upload them to the web server. The naming convention that you use will be critical. And I can't emphasize this enough. I've seen so many students struggle with this, thinking that their work is not right, it's broke, or something's wrong. And there's nothing wrong with their work. It's that the names of the files that they put up are causing problems. So when you actually create your files, I want you to, let me make this really big here so you can see it. Make your files like assignment 3-2.html. You'll notice that Word is helping me out here by capitalizing that. I don't really want it capitalized. I'm going to encourage you to make all of your file names lowercase completely. And the other thing is do not you put spaces in your file name. A lot of people will do this. Assignment 3-2.html. And then they will go up, and that doesn't always work very well. The space is a legitimate character within the name of the file, and it's not the same as the one up above. So a couple of things to watch out for: case sensitivity, and don't put spaces in file names. In lieu of the spaces, either don't use any, just run it together like I did up above, or you can use a dash like so on, or you can use underscores like that. So there's different things you can do, but do watch out for that because it will drive you absolutely nuts, I can guarantee it. We're going to go into another video here that will detail how to use the WinSCP program to log into the website and actually upload and download files. And I will be sending out your login information shortly so that you'll be able to start experimenting around with this. That will cover it for this part of the chapter.